Hello traders, so I just wanted to do a quick supplementary video because I had a gentleman contact me saying, look, Envy, tried everything, I can't get my data feed to work, the depth of market is blank. So what I did was I contacted Sierra Chart, I asked them to give me a free trial with delayed data so I could have the same data feed you guys do, and I ended up getting to the bottom of it. And it made me realize that most people who use the free trial with the delayed data feed are probably going to get the same thing I'm looking at here, or we're all looking at, which is a depth of market with no data. So why is that happening? So basically, guys, what you need to understand is that, do you remember how, and it's not really that complicated, do you remember how I said that the data can be split out from the platform providers, from the order routing providers, and your brokerage, and obviously the exchange? You've also got data feed providers. Now, what it is depending on what data feed provider you use, they've all got slightly different codes, futures codes that they use. It's not a major problem, but as you know, with programming, even one digit can cause something not to read it correctly, and that's what's happening. Is I didn't realize it at the time, but obviously the template that I've asked you guys to load, the chart template, the G7FX Foundation Dome chart book template, that was built using my own data feed. So I've got real-time data, and therefore it's using the code that I use. But obviously, if you're doing a Sierra chart trial with delayed data, the code is going to be slightly different. So there's two things I could have done. First thing is I could have fixed it and sent you and reloaded a correct template with the right codes on it. But I thought, you know what? Let me use this as an opportunity for everyone to really understand why this is happening, understand a little bit more about the futures market and how the codes can vary from provider to provider. So I thought this is a great opportunity for people to fix this issue themselves. Of course, if you continue to have issues, I'm more than happy to help you, but you shouldn't have a problem once you follow this video and the steps in this video. So there's one really easy fix to this. A Sierra chart has a great function where you just click a button and it will change all the codes for you from my own real data feed futures codes to the correct feed data, i.e. the delayed data codes. There's another way to do it, and you can do it manually, and that's what I want you just to have a quick look at so you can get familiar with. If you remember the diagram on 5.1, module 5.1, where I had the exchanges right at the top, and I said, you know, there's different exchanges that manage different futures contracts. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to have a look at that. So what you want to do is you get this quote board, which I've just brought over. So you basically load up just open up this main console. And I'll just put that to the side for now. Okay, so you see this. So you may have this issue here where there's no volume on your quote board, and obviously on the depth of market you've got no activity. So what you need to do is, guys, there's various ways you can. So firstly, what it is you need to understand is that these codes on the quote board are independent of the quotes on the depth of market. They're independent to the quotes on the time and sales. They're independent to, so each element of Sierra chart, for example, the time and sales, a chart, a depth of market, a quote board, you need to tell each element individually what you want it to load. So let's just go one by one, okay? So first thing is the quote board. We want the quote board to give us the correct information, namely volume. So the reason I do this, as you know from the previous video, is the installation video, is I want to know which is the most liquid contract, futures contract, so I can load the correct contract. So as you can see, we got a problem here. We got 0. So what do we need to do to fix this issue? Well, there's certain different ways we can do it. We can go to settings, set symbols, and we can change the symbols that way. What I like to do personally is double click on name, okay? It'll bring up this little box. Click on find, okay? And there you see this box, which I already spoke a little bit about in the previous module 5.2. Now, do you remember, guys, I said there's different exchanges. I said this in, I believe, in 5.1, where we're doing the platform comparison, and we've done a little introduction into the back-end infrastructure. And I said, look, guys, there's different exchanges that look after different futures contracts. So what I'll do is, firstly, let me just say as a side note, you'll notice this thing called Forex. So if you want a chart like your retail platform MT4 has a Forex chart, they do give you, and I didn't mention this in the previous module because I completely forgot, to be honest, but they do give you real-time Forex data for free. So that will become more important later in the pro course, but just be aware of it. You can load up charts with, they use FXCM data, I believe is pretty good. But we're only interested in futures for now. So can you see you get a whole list of futures? So what they do here, guys, doesn't matter what data feed provider you have, it's going to be the same. When you load up this box, you're going to see futures, 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 futures. It keeps saying futures. What they've done is they've split this by exchange. So what you'll see is you'll see all these different exchanges. Now the ones we're interested in is CBOT and CME. Those are the American exchanges, and NYMEX, which does commodities. But guys, if you're trading the Bund, if you're trading a different instrument, it's a different exchange. And I will talk about that in a moment, because the other thing the gentleman asked me, and it was a great question, is he said, look, can I load any instrument I want? Yeah, you can load any instrument you want, guys, that is on this list. But for now, let's just focus on the 5 that I give you as default, and we'll come back to that issue about how do I load something else, a different instrument. So for now, the first instrument on the quote board is the 10-year Treasury. So we can either search for it, but what I would prefer you to do is just learn the exchanges. So the exchange that looks after the Treasury notes and the US bonds essentially is the CBOT, Chicago Board of Trade. So you see I clicked on Futures CBOT and it opens up a whole new menu of instruments. These are all the futures contracts that the CBOT look after. And there, if you scroll down, you can see 10-year Treasury notes, right? ZN. So we open that up, and there you can see the futures contracts. We kind of went through this in the previous 5.2, but obviously the codes were more for my data feed provider, which happens to be Sierra Chart as well, but they do have different codes because it's real time. For delayed data, they've got slightly different codes, as you'll see here. So as we can see, what I do is I like to just grab a piece of pen and a paper. Okay, guys, so I got my pen, I got my piece of paper here, and then I like to just note down the next 3 contracts that are coming into expiry. So here you can see ZNH20, ZNM20, and ZNU20. So I like to just write these down. So ZN, as I explained in the last module, is the instrument. So it's the 10-year Treasury note. Then you've got the month. So they always use the same letters. So for example, you can see H is March, M is June, U is September, Z is December. Doesn't matter what data feed provider you use, CQG, Rhythmic, Continuum, etc., etc., DTN, IQ feed, there's all these big data providers. They're all going to use the same terminology. The only thing is they might have something different afterwards. So with Sierra Chart live data feed, you can see they do underscore, then they do the exchange, and they've got this stuff that they put afterwards. With Rhythmic or some of the other data providers, my point is they're going to be very similar, the code, but it's just going to be slightly different. And unfortunately, that means you need to change it. So over here, I've written down the next 3 contracts, right? So then what I do is I just come out of this, cancel, or you can just copy it if you want. So let's just go back into this CBOT, ZN. And then you see how it just shows up here on the selected symbol? You can either Control C or copy and then cancel, cancel. Then what I like to do is, and I do this regularly, guys. I do this every 3 months for the currency futures and the stock futures, and then oil. It rolls over every month. So for oil, I'm doing this. I'm following this process every month. So it's good, actually. I'm showing you this so you get into the habit of it. So then I double click here, the symbol. Okay, can you see it lets me change it? I wipe it and then I just paste that in. So ZNH20. So do you remember what was there before? Can you see it's ZNH underscore and then it has some stuff after it? That's because my real-time data feed, that's the code. But you're using a different data feed to me. You're using a delayed data feed. You could even be using a different provider and they'll have a slightly different code. So you'd have to do this anyway. So if we change that to ZNH20 and click OK, can you see some volumes now showed up? 48 contracts. It's a very low amount of contracts because the contract is about to expire. We just happen to be at that stage. Excuse me. Now remember, I've written it down on a piece of paper. I already know the next contract is what? ZNM20, right? So I'm going to manually type that in, ZNM20, and press enter. There you go, 1.62 million contracts. Okay, then I know the next one, guys. The next one is ZNU20, right? There you go. So nothing's traded on that contract yet. It's not become active. So we can see straight away the most active contract in the 10-year treasury note right now is the June expiry. So what I want to do, so I've got two options here, guys. I can go into all my charts, depth of market, time and sales, and now I know the correct code I need, which is ZNM20. I can update it. Chart settings on the dome, and I want here ZNM20. So I'll just delete that bit. You can see ZNM20. If I click OK, it should now work. Okay, so you can see it's now working. I'm just going to clear that and center it. Alright guys, so can you see it's now working fine? It's populating, it's going up and down, and it's basically this contract that's got 1.62 million. So we're looking at the right contract that everyone's trading right now, and we're satisfied with that. The only thing is obviously the time and sales. You would need to, well actually, lo and behold, it's done it for you. So I take that back. You don't need to do it for the time and sales. And it looks like it's done it for the chart. So actually I was wrong. It's done it for everything that you needed it to do. So if we just double check that. Oh, I beg your pardon. Actually, I was right. So there you go. You can see that. So what it is I've just realized what the error I made there is the time and sales. Because I'd loaded it from the depth of market, it's shown up as the correct symbol. But obviously the chart is completely independent of the depth of market, so it's still showing the wrong symbol. So we'll need to do that for the chart, right? So I've got rid of that. Okay, can you see now? It's loaded the chart and the chart is now live. So that's one way of doing this, guys. Okay, the other way to do this is you literally go to your main console, right? So you've got that here. You click on edit, I believe. And can you see there's this option here, translate symbols to current service. So that's another way of doing this. Now I just simply click on that. Okay, move this out of the way. Can you see everything has now changed? Now notice this symbol needs to roll over, so I can either just click this manually, because crude oil, where's the most liquid contract? Look guys, it's May 2020, 871,000 contracts, 62,000 on the April contract. So the one that everyone has now rolled over to is the May contract. So can you see the most front month contract, which would have been March, has now expired. It's got no volume in it. So this is what I do every month, is I just update the next three. I want to know what the next three are. So let's just do this. Let's do this together. So I go through that same process again. I go to futures. Now this time, can you see it's the NYMEX? Okay, so before the 10-year treasury, and I'm just going to show you this where each one belongs, but the 10-year treasury note was CBOT there. All the rest of them are CME, the currency futures and the S&P, but commodities are NYMEX. So you need to scroll down futures. And do you remember I said this is done by exchange? So it's the NYMEX. And then look, what are the next three? Well, I know March has expired because it just said zero volume. So I want the next three, April, May, June. Note how crude oil expires monthly, whereas the others expire every 3 months. So I want April, May, and June. So I make a note of this on my piece of paper. So it's CLJ20, CLK20, and CLM20. Right, so I come out of this, cancel that, and then I just do the same thing here, guys. So CL, I've written it down. I want that one to be J. Okay, I want that one to be K, and I want that one to be M. Alright guys, so the next 3 expiries from today are April, May, and June. Can you see how April is, people are rolling out of it? They're rolling into May expiry, so that's clearly the correct one I want, because out of the 3, April, May, June, May's got the most amount of volume, 876,000. So that's the one that everyone is looking at right now and trading. Excuse me. So when I do the rollover here, you can see it's very sparse in terms of volume. So it's pretty obvious that it needs rolling over. But you saw the button there where it said click here to roll over. Obviously, I didn't do that straight away and then the button went away. All you need to do is go chart, perform futures symbol rollover, and it will tell you what the current symbol is and the next one. Now we already know here, because we said we want to go from J to K. So we just want to double check that what it's suggesting we do is correct. It's suggesting we go from J to K. Great, that's correct. So click OK. There you go. Can you see how the volume profile is now much more fuller, because this is what everyone's trading. So that's the correct contract. And that's it, guys. So you should have, just double check, obviously make sure that, so here in the British pound futures, we've got June, it says at the top, B6M20. So I come down to my quote board and I check B6M20. Yep, 148,000. That's the most liquid one at the moment. In terms of Euro future, Euro dollar, it's E6M20. Is that what I've got loaded on my depth of market? Yes, I do. So I know it's correct. Okay, guys, so that should get you going. If you've got any issues, obviously just let me know, or you can contact Sierra Chart as well, but I'm more than happy to help you. So what I want to do now is 2 things. I just want to quickly show you which exchange all of these belong to, in case you do want to go through the longer process. Just remember, you'll have to find the symbol, load it up on your quote board. You'll also have to load up the depth of market, but remember the time and sales, as we've just gone through together, actually loads it up itself automatically. But charts and everything else you'll have to do manually, or you can do that feature which was edit on, if I just bring it over again, edit and then translate symbols to current service. So you've got various options, but in case you do want to go do it manually, I just want to show you where each one you'll find them. So if we start over to the left, the 10-year treasury is under CBOT real time, and it's the ZN. Okay, so you got all, so you go down to ZN and it will just show you. So you can see December's expired, March has got no volume, it's pretty much expired, June, September, whatever. So these are the codes you need. Just make sure you got the most liquid one loaded. Next is the ES, which is the E-mini S&P. So for that you need to go down to futures CME, guys, and look for the E-mini S&P 500 index, ES, that one. Okay, there's your codes. Okay, guys. And then the next one is what? Crude oil future, which we just did anyway, but we'll do it again. So you find futures, NYMEX is the exchange. There you go, NYMEX. So you click on that. And can you see CL, crude oil, WTI? And there's all your expires. There's loads here because they expire every month. So just find the next 3, make sure you got the one with the highest volume. Then finally, what have we got? We got pound futures, British pound against the dollar. That's also on the CME. So you go back to CME. Yeah, and you British pound is B6, right? There's all your expiries. Okay, guys. And then finally is the euro future. So you go to E6, Euro FX. Okay, and that's all your expiries there. So I hope that helps. That's all the contracts you need. And then finally, guys, as I said, the gentleman said to me, look, Envy, what if I want to, for example, load up a depth of market, but for a different market. Now the issue is I've custom built these guys. As I said, you can purchase this. Obviously it'll cost you an arm and a leg. I've given it to you free. I'm happy to have done that. It's custom built. The problem is if you load up a depth of market via Sierra chart, so let me just show you how to do that. So there's various ways, guys, that you can load up a dome, a depth of market, and you'll see just how much I've customized this thing, especially for you guys. So what you do is you go File on the main console. This is the main way to do it, and you go to Open Trading DOM. Okay, you click on it, and you come back to what you're familiar with. This little box, which will show you all the futures exchanges. You pick what you want, guys. So let's assume you want to load something different. I don't know, the Australian dollar, for example. You can load whatever you want, but so we go to Aussie dollar right now. Let's say we load the most liquid contract. It's going to be June. You can check this through your own quote board. I'm not going to do this here, but I know for a fact that it's June. And then, so we double click it. You see how it's just shown up here, A6M20. That's the June 2020 contract. And then we click on Open Trading Dome. Click on that, guys. And then we close this and this. Look at what the standard dome looks like. Okay. So you can see what I've essentially done for you guys. I've converted that into, you know, this beautiful thing that you see here, essentially. So what you need to do, if you wanted to load the same contract, but you obviously wanted the nice customized dome, depth of market, all you need to do, guys, is go to any of the depth of markets, click on chart, duplicate chart. Okay. So can you see now you've got a spare depth of market here? Okay, so you've got your standard 5 and you've got a 6 one. You can load 50 if you want, load as many as you want, but you've now got a spare one that you can change. So in here you go through the same process. Now you click on chart settings and find. And now we go to futures, CME, Australian dollar, the June contract, right? Double click on that, click OK, and then click OK. There you go, guys. Okay, now you've got the Aussie dollar futures on a depth of market in the same format as all the other ones, and you can, you know, you can minimize one of these and you can put it, or you can do whatever you want really. And there you got Aussie dollar. You know, if you don't trade crude oil and you're more interested in following this. So anyway, guys, I hope that video helped, and you're now more familiar with futures codes and how to get everything running yourself. And again, this is probably not going to be that relevant in terms of you changing this code now. Once you set your delayed data feed code, I don't really want you going to a real-time data feed for several months, because I want you to practice getting profitable on simulation using delayed data feed. And then when the time comes, then we can look at that, getting you onto real data feed in a few months. So I hope that helps. Yeah, have a great day, and if you've got any questions, let me know, guys. Cheers.